I thought my daughter was having night terrors until I found what was hidden in her bedroom wall. For weeks, my daughter Viola had these terrible nightmares that started the day we moved into our new apartment. Not every night at first, just a couple times a week. I took her to our pediatrician twice in the first month. Each visit, same story. It's probably stress from the move, they said. Maybe night terrors. They gave us some advice about bedtime routines, told me to be patient, and sent us home, but it kept getting worse. The thing that bothered me most was how specific the nightmares were. Viola would wake up crying and tell me she heard screaming, a woman yelling for help, a man shouting things she wouldn't repeat. She described it the exact same way every single time, like she was remembering something real instead of dreaming random scary things the way kids usually do. One night, I woke up to Viola standing next to my bed, just staring at me. She was shaking with tears running down her face. I pulled her into bed with me and cried and clung to me all night. She refused to go back to her room for 3 straight days after that. I took her to a child therapist who said it sounded like adjustment issues combined with an overactive imagination. She gave Viola some coping techniques and told me to gradually reintroduce her to sleeping in her own room. Nothing worked. She wouldn't even go into her bedroom during the day to get clothes or toys. That Friday night, I decided to sleep in Viola's room myself to prove to her that nothing bad would happen there. I brought in an air mattress and stayed there all night. I didn't hear a single thing. The room was completely quiet. Something clicked in my brain later that day. Viola kept saying she heard the screaming, not that she dreamed it. I started thinking about it differently. What if she really was hearing something? That afternoon, I went back to her room and just sat there listening. I heard nothing for almost an hour. Then I remembered Viola always said the sound came from near her bed. I walked over and pressed my ear against the wall. Still nothing, but I noticed the paint looked a little weird in one spot, like someone had patched it and painted over it badly. I pushed on it, and the whole section felt hollow. I went and got a screwdriver from my toolkit and started prying off the piece of loose trim near the baseboard. I shined my phone flashlight into the gap behind the trim, and there was something in there. I pulled out more of the baseboard and reached inside. I pulled out this old baby monitor receiver covered in dust and spiderwebs. The thing was still plugged into an outlet inside the wall. The power light was on. I stared at it for a minute, trying to figure out why anyone would hide a baby monitor inside a wall. I turned up the volume dial. I heard a woman screaming, not faint or muffled, crystal clear like she was standing right next to me. A man was yelling, "Shut up before I really give you something to cry about." There was a crashing sound, like something breaking. I stood there frozen, listening to what sounded like an actual attack happening in real time. This wasn't some recording. This was live. Someone was being hurt right now, and somehow it was being broadcast into my daughter's bedroom. I grabbed my phone and called 911. The operator asked me to describe what I was hearing, and I held the monitor up to the phone. She went quiet for a second, and then told me to stay on the line. She said officers were on their way and started asking me questions about where I lived and if I knew which apartment the sound might be coming from. I told her I had no idea, but this monitor had been hidden in my wall. The police arrived maybe 10 minutes later. I showed them the monitor, and one of the officers explained that construction companies sometimes would use baby monitors to communicate with each other between units or floors. He said whoever was transmitting had no idea anyone was listening. They asked me how long this had been going on, and I told them my daughter had been hearing it for weeks. The officer's face changed. He asked me if I was sure it had been weeks, and I said yes, every night since we moved in over a month ago. The police visited other units in the building to investigate. I waited in my apartment listening to that monitor for hours. The screaming had stopped, and now I just heard muffled crying. Finally, one of the officers came back down and asked me to step into the hallway. He told me they found a woman being held in the upstairs apartment. She had been there for 3 days. The officer told me the woman was his ex-wife, and she had come to pick up some belongings. He wouldn't let her leave and had been physically abusing her for days.